Omaha Steaks Gourmet Holiday Gifts makes life easier and a whole lot more delicious. Omaha Steaks has a great limited-time offer. Get 28 favorites that are guaranteed to thrill for only $49.99. That's $195 value. Go to omahasteaks.com, type fantasy in the search bar, add the family gift package to your cart. That's omahasteaks.com, code fantasy. Don't wait, order today.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from Draft.com Studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome to the show.
Hey! Monday! Hey!
Are you snapping the football?
No, I'm getting hyped.
Okay.
Blue 32.
Look,
Said, hey.
when you're playing, when the top two seeds are playing in your league of record, and your team drops $180,
Mike and I were facing one another
you
this
feel
week.
pretty good.
I don't know what bothered me more. The fact that Mike's team scored 10 total touchdowns against me, which bothered me tremendously.
It should have been 11. Stupid Ben Watson.
I think
Get in there.
It bothered me more that Mike's demeanor changed so profoundly at the studio. Because when Duke Johnson, he had Nick Chubb, I had Duke Johnson in this matchup. I was flexing Duke. And when Duke scored,
It was very close.
Mike kind of melted into a depression, and things were looking okay. And then from the moment Nick Chubb broke a 92-yard touchdown off until I left the studio in tears, Mike's demeanor was vastly different. Jason, you can attest to that.
Oh yeah, I mean, I entered into the scene right as Mike switched from sadness to he.
It was more concern. It wasn't sadness. It was just at that time, both of our teams were performing extremely well, so it had turned into this, we are going to be the top two scoring teams on the week, and one of us is going to lose. And it started, I mean, it was going back and forth. I didn't know if it was going to be me, but then it wasn't.
We assumed that you could not know who the winner was.
Yes.
Because, Andy, you still have Saquon Barkley, Odell Beckham, and George Kittle left to go. And you pretty much can't win.
No, I can't win. And thank you, Melvin Gordon, Nick Chubb, Mitch Trubisky, Devante Adams, Brandon Cooks, everybody but Ben Watson on your team.
I love you, Nick Chubb.
It's Monday, November 12th.
What's crazy is he benched Carry On.
Yesterday was Veterans Day. So happy Veterans Day to everybody. I was driving in this morning. I was thinking about my grandfather, who recently passed about 5-6 weeks ago. He was a veteran of the United States Army, and my great-uncle just passed away. He was a Marine, fought in World War II. And I was sitting here. I was driving in. The roads were a little emptier. Some people have the day off, and anybody who's not doing the show today with us in this studio has the day off, and they'll be running out of here soon after we get it up. But I was just thinking, we get to talk about fantasy football for a living, and we get to make up ridiculously stupid names, and I get to be deeply emotionally wrecked when Mike's team destroys mine, and that is a privilege to get to do that.
Certainly.
So, thank you to all the veterans that have honorably served this country, and we appreciate those freedoms. We live in such a cynical political landscape nowadays, and there's nothing political about the sacrifice that every veteran has made. So thank you very much. Happy Veterans Day to
one and all.
To one and all.
Yeah.
Back to the trivialities of fantasy football. Yeah. You can follow us on Twitter at the FF Ballers. The website's thefantasyfootballers.com. And our community is jointhefoot.com. We've got our Monday one-liners. We got our Monday puns from
Monday Punday.
Yes, from the Foot Clan. And
very nice.
We got
Jason.
some real winners here, okay? You're going to enjoy them. Starting with Ebron James.
I see. I see what you did there.
Andy Dalton.
Yeah,
not
that's
good.
fair.
Ben Ruthlessburger. Yeah, he was amazing. LaShawn Jason loves these beyond belief.
I do love them, but Ben Roethlisberger, one of the teams in our dynasty league is the worst team I've ever seen on paper ever, and I lost. I had a great game. I lost. Freaking Spencer Ware put up a touchdown on me, but it's all because of Ben Roethlisberger and his 50 points.
LaShawn McJoy. Yeah. A lot of joy with,
I remember
with
him.
LaShawn. A lot of people played the Jets defense.
Uh-oh.
Betting on the Jets.
I played in
Bad
our
decision.
in our listener league. I played the Jets defense against the Buffalo defense. One of those was a good idea.
Look, if you wanted to bet against Matt Barkley, you did so on your own accord.
Yeah, your own peril to your own demise.
I mean, totally saw it coming. Matt Barkley.
You've got Tragon Smith from my roster, gone from my roster. Tragon.
Yeah, what that was
goosed it.
That was unfortunate.
So here's to you, Allen Robinson. Yeah, what a game. Allen Rob's a win.
Cuckoo.
Yeah, I like that. Pooped in his big Boyd pants.
Boyd.
Yeah.
Shout out to Tyler.
Man, I wanted shout out to Tyler. Phony Michelle.
Oh.
Yeah. Dingo ate my Brady.
A dingo
Ate my Brady. Golden Tate, the third string.
Oh, that's a nice one.
And then how about this one? OJ, how weird your quarterback threw for 400-plus yards and you got one catch for 15 yards.
What?
That's my favorite.
Okay. Yeah, that was look, fantasy football.
Very thoughtful.
Is a son of a gun sometimes. It's interesting. So
It's all odds and probabilities. You need to win
is.
60% of those little the decisions to
Well,
say probability says
yeah.
This happens or that doesn't, and
Probability did not say Nick Chubb would drop a 38 burger on me.
No.
But he did. So that's always fun. Let's get into the rewind.
Weekly Rewind.
All right.
Hey.
This sucks.
Yeah.
Cooper Kupp has torn his ACL. Did it week 10 against the Seahawks. And look, there's no two ways about it. This really hurts the Rams.
Yeah, it's super. I mean,
he's a great player.
It's incredibly unfortunate for the team, for the man, for fantasy teams as well. It's just really crappy part of the game. But Cooper Kupp will be out. I mean, we would expect Josh Reynolds would take his spot. But
little more Gerald Everett.
The emergence of Gerald Everett has been extremely interesting for the Los Angeles Rams, and I would expect that trend to continue. I don't know if Everett can get to the place where you're actually starting him, but we might get there.
Probably. Yeah, I mean, eight fantasy points 2 weeks in a row, but I'm not looking that direction.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. We might get there by the end of the season, but probably not.
Yeah, if we've done this game before. If I had to bet on one, I would bet on Josh Reynolds, but I really hope to not bet on one. I want to, if you have Robert Woods, if you have Cooper Kupps, then great. Andy said this before.
What?
Or Robert Woods, Brandon Cooks.
Oh, you said Cooper Kupps.
Yes, I did. Andy said this before the show. It's like the only worry with one of those guys is that one game it just kind of goes away from that wide receiver. But now with Cooper Kupp gone, I think it's Woods and Cooks are very safe.
Yeah,
not that they weren't already.
Right. Yeah, Woods and Cooks are great. Speaking of betting, though, Red Dead Dixon dropped a single reception, Jason.
This isn't our weekly rewind. It's that important.
No,
well, he said betting, and I started thinking about the bet we made that I won,
and the review saying that we're paid.
Yes.
Rockstar.
Let's get to that.
Rockstar. If you want to pay us to talk about Red Dead, we're completely open to that.
They won't because we do it anyways.
Nobody knows what you're talking about unless you saw my Twitter. But we got a 1-star review, which, by the way, those reviews really matter. And it said, sneaky Red Dead ads. And how they liked our show, but they resent the sneaky Red Dead advertising. And listen, man, I want to be paid by Rockstar.
Please.
I love Red Dead Redemption 2, but we share our lives with you, and much of my life is out on the wild West right now.
Look, I paid for my copy. I paid for the
You're
upgrade.
darn right I did.
And that's on you, Rockstar. I feel ripped off now.
That's right. So,
exactly.
So
we
if
are
you're
the
out
ones
there listening,
getting ripped off.
We are the 1-star.
so if you're the 1-star review, I'm submitting my formal appeal and asking you to go in to Apple iTunes and fix that on our behalf, and or get Rockstar to sponsor us. So you're right, and then I'll take your 1-star.
That's much
review.
better.
Marvin Jones left Week 10 against the Bears with a knee injury, awaiting updates. That's unfortunate.
Man, the Lions.
They are bad.
Yeah, if they lose Marvin Jones and now they come into this season basically having given away Eric Ebron, now giving away Golden Tate, and then lose Marvin Jones, yuck.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you like Golladay in that situation, but
Maybe.
I
like
would.
a man on an island.
The thing about Matthew Stafford is Matthew Stafford, no matter how bad he plays the first 3 quarters, usually has a decent fourth quarter to make it somewhat competitive. And if he's only got 1 target, I would like Golladay in that situation.
You guys saw Terrell Austin, defensive coordinator for the Bengals, was fired this morning, and Marvin Lewis has taken over as defensive coordinator?
Yes.
All right, cool. I'm glad you guys know that.
Maybe you get a 1-game morale bump, but
Maybe.
the defense is just too bad.
Jakeem Grant carted off the field with an Achilles. Devante Parker exited with a shoulder injury. ESPN's Adam Schefter came out, talked about A.J. Green is looking more likely that he'll return in December. Season's falling apart a little bit for the Bengals right now.
Yeah.
They're
also,
still just a game out. I don't even know if it's a full game because of the tie.
Wow.
Maybe a game and a half.
Yeah, I mean, the Steelers are surging, though.
Yeah.
Speaking of Achilles, to complete the saddest season in pro NFL history, we didn't talk about it because we talked about Dez Bryant and what he means being involved. If you didn't hear, Dez Bryant, after getting cut late, too late to sign as a free agent for big money, finally finds a team, signs, and tears his Achilles. Right? Wasn't that it?
Yeah.
And so he's gone.
Yeah, and it's probably
I think it's the end of his career.
I think it could be the end for Dez Bryant. He's already, around that 30 mark, so the recovery will be difficult. You're gonna have to find a team that
didn't have a lot of interest this year.
That's willing to go give you another chance. It's going to be a very, very uphill battle for Dez Bryant to make it back, and cool, Le'Veon Bell.
Everything was trending in a good direction for Lev Bell last week, including reports that the organization itself thought that he was going to report on Tuesday.
And then he saw Dez Bryant.
Yeah, Lev Bell's not going to report. That's what Adam Schefter's saying today.
And if he doesn't report by Tuesday, it's done. The saga will be over. Le'Veon Bell will not be coming back this year. He will be eligible for a third-year franchise from the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's not going to happen.
Because that's QB level.
Yeah, so Le'Veon Bell will be playing for another team next year. James Conner is safe.
Yeah, assuming he comes back from the concussion. Tomorrow will be the final word. I mean, hopefully we never speak of this again.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to
somebody signs him.
Please don't show up.
Chris Carson, Sammy Watkins, Rob Gronkowski, Randall Cobb, Robbie Anderson all did not play.
I have a hope for next year.
Yeah?
Let's get a season.
Jason's an owner of the company, so you can't – I mean, it's not much we can do with him at this point.
Oh, crap, to boot him out?
Oh, that's not what you were –
I wasn't, but I like where your head's at. No, this is for the NFL and for fantasy football. Just a season where we don't have one of these ridiculous soap operas that drags on for the entire season.
Look, if you need a soap opera, can I get one with an 8th-round pick?
Yeah.
9th-round pick? I don't need this first-round drama.
Or at least make it General Hospital, because that show's good.
Wow.
I don't know. That was the first one I could think of.
They still do those, right?
Of course they still do those.
There are tumors that still need to be found. So,
of course,
General Hospital.
Returning from the dead, returning from disappearance.
Long-lost twin brothers separated at birth, now in the hospital. It's really sad.
This week's Fantasy Stud Muffins.
Continuing to prove Jason wrong, Mitch Trubisky went out to
My guy, Mitch.
Continuing to be motivated by me.
355 and 3, ran in one.
Nobody
had a 2-point
beats Mitch.
Conversion, and Mitch Trubisky played wonderfully. Having Allen Robinson back was a boon. He's got Minnesota, Detroit, and the Giants next up on the schedule. This is his 4th game with 4+ touchdowns. Mitch Trubisky can play football.
Look, shout out to our buddy Jeremy for dropping Mitch Trubisky for me to scoop up off the waiver wire for free this week. I appreciate you, buddy.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Well, it was funny because in many ways Mike felt stuck with Mitch Trubisky this week because he attempted with 0 fab to pick up various replacements or potential starters.
Hey, how dare you? $1.
$1
I had
fab.
$1.
And everybody kept sniping him. I mean, Russell Wilson disappears.
Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah, he couldn't get Roethlisberger. I picked up Lamar Jackson, not for this week, obviously, but just to keep him away from Mike for the rest of the season. And Mitch Trubisky looks like the best of all of them.
Whee!
Big Ben, Drew Brees, Baker Mayfield, and Russell Wilson ended up with solid fantasy weeks. Andrew Luck against Jacksonville. He is a big fan of tight ends. Big fan.
Big fan.
I don't know what the percentage is of his touchdown passes over the last 3 weeks to tight ends, but it might be over 1,000,000%. I'm not sure.
Scientifically, it could be.
Marcus Mariota, stream of the week, had a good game. Surprise. They beat New England.
Sorry, I had to look it up because I'm not going to bet against it anymore. I get it. Math is broken. Probability goes out the window with Eric Ebron. He played on 38% of the
That doesn't
snaps.
see. I wanted to.
It matters to no. It absolutely matters to me in general.
But maybe it doesn't. Is
Eric
what I'm
Ebron.
saying.
Well,
for tight ends, maybe for tight ends though. If you look at
for tight ends named Eric Ebron.
Well, if you look at tight ends though that are technically, like you would consider them to be sharing that position, right? Like it's not even though the snap counts is 38%, right? You would still consider Doyle and Ebron to be a part of a platoon there, right? So maybe in platoon tight end situations, when touchdowns are such a heavy factor for tight end production, snap count is not as big of a factor. I'm going to look into those numbers.
Sure, we can look in.
There are a lot of situations where guys are goal line tight ends. Antonio Gates last year or 2 years ago with Hunter Henry was not seeing the snap percentage that Hunter Henry was seeing.
But he didn't put up touchdowns like Ebron's doing this. I mean,
nobody's done it like Ebron.
It's just it's a matter of probability, like Jason's talking about. If a guy is out there running more routes, he has more opportunity. But Eric Ebron he has put a nuclear bomb to that.
He doesn't even have to run routes, man. He had a rushing touchdown. Okay, I'm not.
Yeah, but what are the snap counts inside the 20? What are the snap counts inside the 30? Those are what matter more to me. I don't care if Ebron's taking a rep at the opposing team's, or at his own team's 25-yard line.
That's a more fair point. See, where are the snaps actually happening?
But, yeah, big game. Andrew Luck against Jacksonville. Jacksonville's season looks lost. It's going to be Tennessee and Houston fighting for that division. Some things are shaking out in terms of the divisional races. I mean, Washington won another game.
The Eagles
Dallas
lost.
upset Philadelphia. So running backs, Nick Chubb was the big story. 20 for 176, longest touchdown in Browns history, a 92-yard run. He's averaged 102 rushing yards per game. That's deceptive.
A little bit. But
that's a deceptive number because he ran for 176 in this game.
But since Carlos Hyde has been gone, 80, 65, 85, and then the monster game. So, I mean, Nick Chubb he's been fantastic.
Can you start him and Duke Johnson on a weekly basis?
Not on a weekly basis. I think you can start Chubb on a weekly basis, and Duke Johnson, to me, it needs a certain type of game, like this one where we were saying Duke was a great play against Atlanta.
I will say this, though. I mean, we said he's a great play against Atlanta. Game script didn't go the way we thought.
That's true, but the reason he was a great play is because Atlanta always gives up pass-catching running back fantasy points, and that's Duke Johnson's wheelhouse.
Yeah, and we'll see. I mean, with the changeover, we had also talked about the possibility that Kitchens, the new offensive coordinator, could change things up to be more friendly for
Duke was not heavily
Duke
used in this game. He just ended up with a touchdown.
Yeah.
Christian McCaffrey, the monster week. Hey, who's this guy?
Oh, David Johnson.
Oh, David.
It was nice to see.
98 rushing yards, 85 receiving yards, 7 catches, 2 touchdowns. David Johnson, he did it. He did it in a game where the implied point total for Arizona was very low, and he still put up a monster fantasy.
He's going to do it again next week.
Oakland.
He gets the Raiders.
Yeah, it's great to see. We're going to talk about him again shortly. Ezekiel Elliott.
What was really – we're going to talk about him again?
Yes.
Okay.
We're going to talk about David Johnson again. We do this thing called Rising Stars on the show.
I was unaware that he was a rising star.
We do it later on, and he's going to be my rising star, Jason.
Spoiler?
That's what I was getting at. Aaron Jones, broken out. Finally whittled down every bar in that cell.
Yes.
Broke out. The law can't find him. No one can find him. 15 for 145, 2 touchdowns. Out-touched Jamal Williams 18-3. And wouldn't you know, had wonderful success, and the team had wonderful success.
Yeah,
Aaron
that's so
Jones,
weird.
Hello.
McCarthy.
It was crazy. Watching that game, it was inner turmoil for me because he was high in my rankings, but I was playing against him. And every single time he touched the ball, it looked like it was just run for a first down. And every time it looked like he was about to break off a touchdown. He's really good. And then they put Jamal Charles in the game, and you go, or Jamal Williams, and you go, well, that dude's so slow.
He said, that's not Aaron Jones.
No. So, I mean, yeah, the breakout has happened. I think rest of season, he's going to be a great start.
Could be a league winner type of player. Ezekiel Elliott, 19 for 151 and 1. The big story with Zeke is he's already at his season high in catches. He's on the field all the time. Great game for Zeke against the Philadelphia run defense that was in the top 5 of the league. They need to keep feeding him. They need to give him the ball more and more and more, like, to the tune of Todd Gurley-esque numbers every week.
But they need to be creative as well. I mean, and then the targets is a huge part of that. You can't do what they did the couple weeks ago where the defense knew exactly what was going to happen.
We'll get into some more running back names. I want to thank Pristine Auction for sponsoring today's show. Pristine Auction, the best place for autographed sports memorabilia. They've been sponsored this show for a really long time. We frequently visit their warehouse. We see all of the memorabilia they have. The on-site authenticators. They work with only the best consigners. Tyreek Hill signed Chiefs jersey this week, $87. Matt Breida signed 49ers jersey. Listen to this, $38.
Whew.
Matt Breida playing tonight. Philip Lindsay signed Broncos logo football, $78. The list goes on because there are hundreds of daily auctions. We pull a few of the auctions each and every time we talk about them. And look, it's great deals. DeAndre Hopkins signed Texans jersey, $55. How much was that?
Oh!
55! Oh! And they have other memorabilia too from other other sports and things like that. So check them out, pristineauction.com, Pristine auction.com.
And we also want to thank Casper for making the best sleep, brand out there. They continue to revolutionize their line of products. Andy has been on a Casper mattress for as long as I can remember. He replaced it.
Well, not right now.
That is
like
true.
At nighttime.
But at least like a third of your life
right.
is spent sleeping. So, look, I mean, they have the original Casper. They've got the Wave, the Essential, these mattresses that are perfectly designed to soothe and cradle you and your geometry. And not to mention, it helps keep your body cool throughout the night. That is one of my biggest pet peeves with a bad bed, and it's delivered right to your door in one of those small, how do they get it so small sized boxes where you get this incredible inflating process, and you have a 100-night risk-free sleep on it trial. So look, don't wait. Go to Casper.com/footballers. You get $50 towards your mattress by going to Casper.com/footballers and using the code footballers at checkout. That's Casper.com/footballers. Offer code is footballers to save $50 off your mattress purchase. Terms and conditions apply.
All right, let's talk about some more running backs. Leonard Fournette, Jason.
Oh, yes.
Leonard Fournette, 24 for 53 and a touchdown. Those are really bad yard per carry numbers.
Yes, those are really bad, but when you get a multi-touchdown over 100 all-purpose yards, it's a great start. You definitely disappointed with the efficiency in the run game against the Colts, but you can't be too sad with the fact. The point was he was going to get full workload, and he is the clear-cut back in.
Carlos Hyde's requesting a trade back to the Browns, I think. Only 3 touches. Melvin Gordon doing Melvin Gordon things. The nice thing about Melvin Gordon is no matter how much success he's had during any part of the game, he's one play away at this point in time. LaShawn McCoy, what do you think about LaShawn McCoy's big performance? 26 for 113 and 2. Didn't even catch the ball, which has been the way he's been saving his production for fantasy owners. He only had 1 target.
If you watch the game, this was old school Shady McCoy. It was fun. It was invigorating to watch because when Shady's running free, when he's the slippery fish, he is an extremely entertaining player to watch. It came on the back of I was being jocular about it, but Matt Barkley was actually a competent quarterback. I mean, that's the difference for LaShawn McCoy. He's got the bye week. Josh Allen is reported to be back. If Josh Allen can be competent at all, then yes, Shady McCoy is getting the type of volume to be a running back too. But if Josh Allen comes back and looks real bad, then you're in trouble again with McCoy. So I don't think you can project confidently one way or the other right now where he's going to go.
There were 2 pretty significant games this week that we need to talk about. The one is Mark Ingram's game, 13 for 104, 3 for 58 in the passing game with a touchdown. The other one is Kerryon Johnson's game, 14 for 51 and a touchdown, 6 for 38 and a touchdown through the air. And I think what fantasy owners want to know, dare I say deserve to know, is whether or not it's going to last for these 2 players. The concern with Ingram has been opportunity, especially on the goal line. The concern with Kerryon Johnson was the return of Theo Riddick and the disintegration of his passing game work. But you had really big fantasy days, probably on a lot of benches for Ingram and Johnson.
Yeah, so, I'm very confident in both players. Mark Ingram, he didn't get some crazy new opportunity. It's exactly what he's been getting. I mean, 12 carries, 13 carries, 9 carries, 13 this week. But he's on a great offense. You get the opportunities to score touchdowns, which he had through the air, 3 receptions for 58. I'm very confident in Mark Ingram. Is he going to be great every single week? No, there's very few players that just every single week have a great output. He's not Alvin Kamara, Todd Gurley, Melvin Gordon, but he's a very good running back who gets enough opportunity on a great offense. And as far as Kerryon's concerned, the thing that really, really makes me happy is Theo is back, 6 receptions. That was the worry, right? Going in with Kerryon, it wasn't just, I mean, the worry a little bit was matchup on the road, not a great game, but with Theo back, will he continue to be used in the passing game? And he was. Maybe that's because
he was this week
of the absence of Golden Tate, where you've just got a few more targets to go around to those running backs.
Ingram and Kamara finished the week exactly tied as the 9th-ranked fantasy running back this week. Kerryon Johnson finished as the 12th-ranked running back. One more carry for Ingram. That game got out of hand pretty quick. They didn't even play starters in part of the 4th quarter. Okay, let's move on to some wideouts. Tyreek Hill, 2 touchdowns. Nice to see. I had a contact on the Chiefs sideline from last week saying that he played last week at about 80% at best. Coming up, you know how he was banged up and he had the groin injury, and Andy Reid was concerned about it. Said he saw Hill warming up. He looks kind of restricted. He came out, didn't look restricted in this game, had a big game against Patrick Peterson. I say that, he was – both of his touchdowns came in the seam, but he avoided – no Sammy Watkins out there, still had a monster game. They have the Rams next week.
Oh, that's going to be such a good game.
Yeah, well, it will be. And, man, if the Rams had not held on, right, and lost the second straight game and then have to
Did you see
face the Chiefs, that would have been interesting.
The slow motion exuberant celebration from head coach Sean McVay?
I did not.
Oh, and I mean the lip readers are going to have themselves a time with that
after the game.
Yeah, look, the man was very excited.
Couple words.
Said some things that we don't say on this show, but that man was fired up.
Like, woohoo!
We did it, boys!
Yes, very close to
Good job, team! Allen Robinson, 6 for 133 and 2, putting any doubters to rest.
For now.
I mean, he had to be on most people's bench, right?
Yeah.
Just because coming off the injury, but
I don't know, bye weeks and stuff. I think if you had him, you probably...
Hopefully you did.
Hopefully
Next
you played
week,
him.
Minnesota, Xavier Rhodes, how confident.
He destroyed Darius Slay.
Yeah?
But Slay was banged up all week. It'll be interesting.
He's mentally banged up now.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with Allen Robinson and you're right, with Rhodes and what Trubisky can do against Minnesota.
Anthony Miller had a great game in that one, too.
Anthony Miller
5
was
for 122 and 1.
He was almost my rising star just because he did it with Allen Robinson on the field.
Well, because you know who didn't do it. Taylor Gabriel.
Right.
But
Squadoosh.
See, that makes sense, though, because rookie wide receivers establishing themselves, there's some metrics out there. Nobody gets more separation at the point of break than, Anthony Miller is up there with the Antonio Browns of the world.
Impressive.
2.2 something yards of separation on his route. So it was a matter of time with Anthony Miller. Taylor Gabriel's capped. Anthony Miller's ascending.
Yeah.
So 5 for 122. Great game for him. He's going to be a waiver wire target, no doubt about it. Michael Thomas, 2 more touchdowns. Ho-hum.
Yeah, ho-hum.
Doing Michael Thomas things.
Maybe people were able to trade for Michael Thomas in the brief Des Bryant is their window.
Oh, I hope so. Corey Davis likes playing the New England Patriots.
What?
7 for 125.
What?
And 1 on 10 targets. And
What?
Indianapolis, Houston, New York coming up. Corey Davis, is this he gives you kind of the mirage in the desert every once in a while.
Marcus Mariota, though, is actually looking
He's been better
the
the
last couple weeks. Can you buy in, or is this a trap? It's a trap.
Well, if you look,
I don't know.
it's not a trap in the sense that there are plenty of poopers we're going to talk about, and you're going to have to make a decision. Would you drop Traquan Smith to sign Corey Davis? Yeah, you do that. So I think there will be decisions to be made. Maybe we'll bring Corey Davis' name up again when we talk about some of the poopers and what you do with your roster.
Sure.
Devante Adams, Julio Jones, Brandon Cooks, you're always starting them, and they're great.
You mean Julio Touchdown Jones?
That is what they call him.
That's
TD
what
Jones.
they call him these days.
He's going to have a touchdown every game rest of the season. Just like, the ice is finally broken.
It makes sense. He gets too many targets. This was just an enigma. This is like the coin toss thing for Kansas City.
Did that continue?
No, they lost.
They lost?
Yeah.
Yeah, Kansas City had won 9 consecutive coin tosses. Look, eventually you're going to lose.
Yeah.
And when you don't cover Julio, eventually you're going to lose. Dante Moncrief, 3 for 98 and 1. When Dante Moncrief has a game, it is always on the back of a 70, 80-yard reception. So you got it this week.
What about, look, we got a breakout wide receiver with a brand-new quarterback, Zay Jones.
Well,
Matt Barkley.
Yeah.
The connection.
Like I said, Josh Allen's going to be back.
Nothing to
I
see
would consider signing Zay Jones to cut him.
Right. Just have fun.
Just as a way of saying thank you for scoring on the waiver wire.
An honorary pickup.
Yeah, he deserves to. He's been on the waiver wire. He deserves to be signed and cut. Eric Ebron, 3 for 69 and 2 touchdowns on 3 targets. Also had a rushing touchdown.
Sure.
Eric Ebron is on pace to tie the single-season touchdown record for the tight end. He deserves to be owned. He deserves to be started. Zach Ertz against Dallas, 14 for 145 and 2 on 16 targets.
He's unbelievable.
He is a wide receiver and a tight end combined.
Yep.
In one position.
He has 4 of the top 10 single-game tight end reception numbers in history. One of which was...
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Already?
Already. In a young career, Zach Ertz is the safest tight end there is. I mean, I feel like Kelsey has a higher ceiling for multi-touchdown games.
I would agree with that,
despite the fact that he did not score a touchdown and Zach Ertz had a multi-touchdown game this week. But the safer option is Ertz.
Austin Hooper did it again. 11 targets, 10 catches. Every
That's
once in a
a
while,
trap.
every once in a while, Austin Hooper.
You're not going to fool me a 4th time, Austin Hooper.
No?
No.
What if you started one of the poopers?
Well, yes, this week, but I'm saying I'm not going to go, okay, well, Austin Hooper He's right back at it after his
Jack Doyle. You're signing and keeping Jack Doyle above Austin Hooper.
I would, yes.
Okay. Just checking. All right, it is Rising Star time.
Rising Stars of the Week.
Jason,
Yeah.
why don't you go first?
Well, I'm doing a little hanging.
Whoa!
I'm hanging with Mr. Cooper. Amari Cooper is my rising star. Look, last week I talked about how, my mind wanted one thing, but my body was telling me something else with Amari Cooper.
So hesitant. You were so hesitant to start it. Like, you couldn't even get the words out.
My body.
My mind's telling me no.
Oh.
But my body's telling
Look,
me yes.
It's funny.
body
I thought that was just the "but my body" part, and I just had to let the whole thing play.
But my body is telling me yes with Amari Cooper. You've got 5 receptions and 6 receptions, enough volume, enough work with Zeke getting going in the passing game. We were talking about that. The offense looks like it's less inept, which is great. But he is the clear-cut, primary wide receiver, and he's looked good in that system. He's looked good for Dak. And if you look at their upcoming schedule, games against Atlanta, New Orleans, Indianapolis, Tampa Bay. I mean, those are just – they're going to need to throw the ball. He looks like the primary guy. So I am rising on Amari Cooper without a doubt.
Mike, I'm terrified of yours.
I am as well.
I get it.
And I think I oppose, but go on.
Well, you can oppose, but I'm bringing him up because you got to add him. I don't know if we can start him yet, but Rashaad Penny, I get it. But he was 12 for 108 with a touchdown, and then he had the full Peach Cobbler support after the game saying that's the player that we drafted. He's going to be in a platoon no matter what. This will never be the Rashaad Penny show. But what is the actual status of Chris Carson? How banged up is he?
Chris Carson is a Seattle running back, meaning you will never know, and he'll be a game-time decision and get 30 carries, or he'll be a game-time decision and get nothing. I mean, my worry, and obviously I'm a huge Rashaad Penny truther from the draft. I mean, he was my favorite running back, not named Saquon. Him and Carrion were like my 2 guys. I think the talent is there. I just can't trust Pete Carroll. And Pete Carroll's support means nothing because he supports all of his players.
Touche.
His players are the best.
But he got just as much work as Mike Davis, not in the passing game, but on the ground, had a lot of success.
He looked great.
Yeah, and he did. He looked fantastic. I've got him in this section because I think that he is a primary pickup at the running back position if he is available on your waivers. We will have to see how the news trends to see if you can play him or not.
I'm going to put David Johnson in here. David Johnson with the monster game. Look, for weeks, at least I've been saying, I think these guys have echoed the fact that if you could have acquired him, I mean, last week we talked about it on the show, Jordan Howard, right? Like, I mean, you could get David Johnson without paying the David Johnson price for the past few weeks. He is a dual threat running back, and I know that offense is inept, but the Cardinals actually had a pretty good showing. They held the Chiefs to their lowest point total of the season. They were competitive in this game for quite some time, and that's not to say they're going to be a winning team, but if their defense can contain people, David Johnson's going to get as much opportunity as he got this week. This is much more of a template to the rest of the season with Byron Leftwich at offensive coordinator. The passing targets for David Johnson. Yes. David Johnson could end up winning people leagues.
Certainly could,
in the end, when they didn't expect it after the bad start to the season. This is a big difference. We're seeing the difference in offensive coordinator in Cleveland and the way it affects that offense. We're seeing it in Arizona and the way it affects David Johnson directly. If you call different plays with very talented players, you get more opportunity, and that's what we're seeing with David Johnson. So he is a rising star for me.
That makes sense. Coming off the bye, 9 targets. It's what we used to see with an offensive coordinator from what system we used to see, and his upcoming playoff schedule is great. Detroit, Atlanta, and then the Rams, where in the passing game he should still have a good game.
It's amazing and maddening how much coaching affects fantasy football players. I mean, from the absolute demise of Todd Gurley in his second year with Jeff Fisher, David Johnson. If the Arizona Cardinals had not fired Mike McCoy, David Johnson, in my opinion, you just chalk it up. He would be a massive bust
A write-off
this season.
Yeah. No doubt. You see Trubisky, his ascent
exactly.
in those offense. By the way, Rising Stars brought to you by FantasyChamps.com. That is a domain you want to just remember.
Bookmark
right now.
it.
That is a brand you want to
Apple
remember.
D.
Because as soon as someone wins a title, you can go get yourself a trophy. You can get yourself a ring. They have rings with ring cases custom engraved, and these are metal engravings.
Yep.
These are not cheap engravings. This is the best place to get trophies, rings, custom jerseys. Every award you could use for a fantasy league, you just go to Fantasy Champs.
There's a lot of faces that will need things rubbed into them once you get that
100%.
Foot Clan title.
And you want to rub custom metal engraving.
You're darn right.
In their
Oh,
face.
yeah, no,
It leaves a couple marks.
acrylic
So we-
nonsense.
Thank Fantasy Champs for sponsoring that segment. All right, let's move on.
Pooped in his big boy pants.
All right, I'm going to read a few quarterback pooped in their pants names, and I want you guys to tell me who you're most concerned about. Andy Dalton, Tom Brady, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Derek Carr. What do you think?
Brady.
Yeah, Brady is the big one. Dalton, I wasn't expecting very much from this week. Tom Brady is the biggest question of these guys.
Brady has one touchdown pass in his last 3 games, and he hasn't looked great.
And let's be clear about that. That's one touchdown pass total, not one per game.
Right.
One total.
He's averaging a third of a touchdown a
There
game.
you go. Nice.
I want you guys as a second set of eyeballs for me. When I've been watching, Tom Brady doesn't look great. His passes aren't on point like what we're used to seeing. Do you guys see that, or because I'm really stupid?
He looks – I think he actually looks okay, but the offensive line
It's been sacked 7 times.
Is causing some problems for Tom Brady. And what we know about Tom is you get him one good lick in a game, and he is an M&M. He just absolutely crumbles and starts panicking and freaking out.
So before these past 3 games where he had 10 touchdowns in the previous 4 games, his completion percentage in all of those games, 65, 77, 68, 69. In his last 3 games, his completion percentage, 64%, 62, and down to 51 in the Tennessee game. So there has been a statistical, it's more than just the touchdowns. Now, getting Gronk back.
They're really hoping that Gronk is ready after the bye.
And then Edelman's banged up right now. Did we touch on that in the news, Brooks?
No,
we
did not.
skip that? Julian Edelman left the game with an ankle injury, and we don't have a further report. So we'll keep you up to date on what's going on with Edelman, but that is a cause for concern. They force-fed Sony Michel in this game to Tom Brady's detriment because he didn't have James White on the field. I think that's why you saw the completion percentage so terrible, is he did not have the reliable outlet that he needed. And, moving into running backs, James White, Sony Michel, they both stunk it up. The question that people have is what happened? Well, did you see the game score? I mean, that's what happened. They got beat.
Yep, that's exactly what happened. And for Ryan Fitzpatrick, if you were disappointed, the dude threw for over 400 yards. This is why the touchdown
403 yards.
The touchdown is so incredibly powerful for fantasy football. When a quarterback can throw for 400 yards, he did have 2 interceptions.
And a fumble.
Oh, yeah, and the fumble. But the fact that if he had no touchdowns means he pooped his pants. I mean, that's insanity.
It's the most, I believe they had the most yards as a team with 3 or fewer points since 1960.
That makes sense.
Honestly, when I saw that stat, I was shocked that it wasn't of all time. I can't believe there was a game in the 60s where they had 3 or fewer points with more yards than what happened. I don't even know how it's possible.
Breaking news.
Oh, it's a good one.
Huge news.
Do I need to find the mediocre signing?
Yeah, there you go. That's a little bit more accurate. We had it at
well,
one
I mean,
point in
I don't
time.
think we have it right now. Brandon Marshall signing a 1-year deal with the New Orleans Saints to replace Des Bryant.
Are you interested? No.
Not. Well,
I'm
not interested, but it's interesting that Traquan had 0 production in this last game. So am I interested? No. Am I interested in Traquan? No.
Brandon Marshall might be on your waiver wire in a dynasty league. That's probably the only place I'm interested in, just throwing him on the huge bench just in case.
Yeah?
Yeah. Did someone pick him up in our league?
No, I don't know.
Oh.
I thought that's what you were insinuating.
No, I was not.
Okay. Well, yeah, I should add him in that league if he is, Mike, because all of my players go out every single week.
They do.
I don't have anybody left. I'm sure he's being owned, though. Yeah, he's on.
Okay.
Thank goodness. Jordan Howard, Marlon Mack, Kenyon Drake, Tevin Coleman, Ito Smith. Bad games for all 5 of those guys. Who are you most concerned about?
Man, that Jordan Howard, was he one of the 5 you just read
Yes,
off?
he was.
I actually have.
Oh, wait, are you finally on board?
No, I have a clip from I got some highlights.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Oh no, here
that's not him.
Here's the highlight clip.
There it is.
Yeah, I was waiting. 11 carries for 21 yards. That is some inefficient running. And what's crazy is this offense is clicking. This offense is manufacturing scores left, right, and center.
Here's the thing.
They were
Jay.
last week too, and he got 2 touchdowns.
What we know about Jordan Howard is he's going to be the primary runner. So if it's a positive game script for the run, and say the Chicago Bears are up like multi-touchdowns against a very inferior rush defense, then Jordan Howard is going to get it done.
Like yesterday?
Yeah.
Yesterday against the Detroit Lions when they were up massive and Jordan Howard got 11 carries.
I'm concerned
Alert!
with it. I am concerned with it, but I don't think you should crazy overreact to this because, I mean, you are doing probabilities. This is still double-digit carries. It certainly didn't work out. I mean, he was a huge pooper without a doubt. But I mean, you can't just go away from a guy getting double-digit carries in a good offense.
It's all about expectation. And Mike and I last week we said the same thing. I mean, Jordan Howard
he's touchdown or bust.
Yeah, and he's a flex running back.
Jordan Howard.
I'd rather have Tariq Cohen the rest of the year. Still.
Hold your noses. Jordan Howard right now is Isaiah Crowell. Double-digit carries. I mean, you can make the exact same narrative for Crowell. If he scores, you're super happy. If not, you got a guy who carried the ball 12 times for about 40 yards.
What if you say it in reverse? Does that make Crowell feel good?
Yes.
Yeah.
Isaiah Crowell is Jordan
does.
Howard. Marlon, what do you think about this Marlon Mack game? I mean, 12 for 29.
Jaguars.
Yeah, but I mean, they were up big in this game. Just 12 touches on the ground.
Jaguars.
I think it's a Jaguars thing, and the fact that Marlon Mack's not a tight end certainly hurts him with Andrew Luck. I think that's one of the biggest problems.
People were very unhappy with Tevin Coleman.
As
in
was
fact,
I.
Some people said that if you're bad for Christmas, they'll leave you Coleman under the tree.
Oh, boo!
You open up, yeah.
Coleman.
Yeah, Coleman.
He got a little bit shook early on in the game, so I'm assuming that had something to do with it because he was 11 for 44. Got stuffed on the goal line. I was expecting much, much better things from Coleman.
Well, it was weird for the entire Falcons team. I mean,
True.
It was so bizarre. I mean, they got their tail handed to them.
They had a road poop
by the Browns.
Yeah, they went on the road and
took a dump.
Collaborate. There you go. Wide receivers of concern. Mike Evans 3 for 51. Jarvis Landry just 2 for 22 in that win. Devin Funchess 3 for 32. Doug Baldwin 5 for 39. Doug Baldwin, you need to move on. And then Alshon, last week's pump the brakes, 4 for 48. Golden Tate just 2 for 19. He was barely on the field in the second half. He does not have enough
I'm not
reps
about
with
Tate
that team.
yet.
And Traquan's goose. What's your biggest concern here?
I think the biggest concern is Baldwin because he's the biggest letdown. He's a guy that you still keep on your roster. Or this last week, I'm sure many people found him on the waivers and picked him up. And it's one of those, like, I think your team's probably better off not having him. That's not to say he can't have big games, have a good second half of the season if things turn around. Russell Wilson looked very good. He was running around, scrambling a little bit more this last week. But in a game where he was playing well, where Russell threw for touchdowns and scrambled around, you still only had 39 yards for Doug Baldwin.
He's done.
More often than not, he's going to hurt you more than help you. So I would get him off your roster.
I want to talk about Jarvis.
6 games since he's returned. He's been worth nothing.
I want to talk about Jarvis because we have 2 games with the new offensive philosophy. And in those games, Jarvis Landry has 7 targets and 5 targets. And before that, he had 6 straight double-digit target games. And if you haven't paid attention, Baker Mayfield is playing a lot better. I think I saw the stat of he's the first rookie to have a perfect passer rating while throwing the ball more than 20 times in a game this past week.
His third down completion percentage, I believe, was the highest in the league as well.
So, I mean, and Jarvis is not having huge success. Meanwhile, the Cleveland Browns are starting to have success.
He's in that, I mean, essentially you got to look at him as the flex category. I mean, you have a ton of teams on bye next week. The 49ers, Bills, Browns,
the Browns
Dolphins,
are on bye,
Jets,
yeah.
and Patriots are all on bye next week. So when you are listening to analysis of the good and bad on this show and into tomorrow's show, keep in mind that you have a lot of players on bye. And it's not that I mean, with a lot of these players, it's not that you can't get a great week out of them, right? You can get a great week out of Tyrell Williams. You can get a great week out of Jarvis Landry, Calvin Ridley. They happen. But they also can lay an egg. And that's why reliability is such a difficult thing to acquire at the position.
Mm-hmm.
You can play the matchup, but you get some pretty rough games. So tight ends, everyone wants to know what in the world to do with O.J. Howard, the 1 for 15, and David Njoku just 1 for 18. So in a game where Baker was great, Jarvis and Njoku, who you would assume are by far the best pass-catching options he has, combined for 3 total catches.
Yeah.
And now they're going into the bye week. Do you just move on? As a fantasy owner, are you holding David Njoku through the bye, or are you moving on from David Njoku entirely?
Wow.
Because I think you have to do the latter. I think you have to let him go through the bye.
You probably do, in the sense that, I mean, a lot of this depends on your roster, your bench size, things like that. It's hard to hold 2 tight ends this time of year. So really, if you've got a burner spot, hold on to them. But if you need to move on, I wouldn't be holding David Njoku and dropping an important wide receiver or running back. I would agree with Andy in those
risk.
situations.
Jimmy Graham just 1 catch this week.
Hey, yeah.
O.J. Howard, Jimmy Graham. You prefer Howard rest of the season?
Yes. Yeah, it sucked. That sucks. 15 yards when your quarterback throws for over 400. That really, really sucks, but you just got to accept that. Take the L this week.
Cody Parkey, the kicker.
Wait, we're talking about kickers?
Well, for a minute, because he converted
Yeah.
2 of 4 extra points and missed 2 field goals. That's a bad day at the office.
Is he still employed?
As far as I know.
I had someone
He's as employed as Baby Josh is.
I had someone tweet me that they started the Jets and Cody Parkey
Oh, no.
at their kicker and defense.
No.
So
Yeah, if you started the Jets D or the Pats D this week, you did not get what you had bargained for.
Hey, I started the Pats D. Everything was all right for this guy.
oh man.
Yeah, I think that had more to do with the other players you played, Mike.
Perhaps.
But look, there are no guarantees in fantasy football or life, for that matter.
Hey, before we close out today's show, want to thank today's sponsor, Omaha Steaks Foot Clan. It's Christmas time, and that means we're talking about Omaha Steaks. You know you're excited for this promo. I'm excited for it because it's a whole lot of meat for a little bit of money. Go to omahasteaks.com. You enter that code FANTASY into the search bar. You're going to get 74% off the Omaha Steaks family gift pack. It's just $49.99. Order today. That's omahasteaks.com. Type FANTASY in the search bar. Add the family gift package to your cart.
All right, that is it for today's episode. Again, happy Veterans Day to everybody. We'll be back tomorrow with some waiver wire and Monday Night Football feedback.
We'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.